So what action should be taken then to make Scottish schools safer?
I think the Behaviour in Scottish Schools research report, to which I've referred, set out a number of changes which the respondents to that research had called for. And we weren't surprised at all to see that those recommendations aligned closely with the recommendations made in our National Branch Survey on Violence and Aggression. So there's been a call for a clear public statement from Scottish Government and local authorities that schools should be places free from and protected from violence and aggression, and that there should be a national action plan developed to achieve that aim. The Scottish Government before Christmas already indicated that it would take this work forward, and we're working with, as part of the Sagribus group, to do that. In addition, the Scottish Government has been called upon to produce a clear national policy on the escalation of consequences for pupils exhibiting violent and aggressive behaviour, and for that to be rolled out as national good practice. But I think what we can't get away from, and what is really important, is that key to all of this is resourcing. We have in Scotland what we would consider as world-leading legislation and policy on additional support for learning, but there's a substantial gap between that policy, that legislation, and the practice in our schools, and that's as a result of a systemic under-resourcing. We need to see much stronger support for young people with additional support needs, especially those which are giving rise to distressed and violent behaviour. We need to see substantial investment both in mainstream settings but also in special school settings to allow the early intervention strategies which we know work to prevent escalation of distressed behaviour, and ensure that those needs are being met. And we need investment in staff and class teachers. We need to see the employment of more class teachers to ensure that we can have smaller class sizes, and specialist teachers and support staff to provide that one-to-one support that some children and young people desperately need, as well as investment in associated professionals to allow effective multi-agency work to support pupils, particularly in relation to mental health. To be taken forward and to work as well as we know it can. We also need proper and meaningful investment in restorative practice. A number of our members have indicated that they believe that restorative practice can work, but only if it's appropriately resourced and that staff are given the time and space to be able to use that properly. And ultimately, we need more dedicated time for professional learning, a space where staff can be given, be released to engage in that professional learning, but also to reflect on learning and to engage with colleagues and to think about whole school approaches around how we can address and adopt meaningful strategies to deal with this. So I think overall we need to have key investment in core education and the development of a long-term resourcing strategy to meet the needs of learners. But I would say, Tom, that the additional investment cannot be a choice. This must be seen as a health and safety issue, and it needs to be addressed. Schools need to be safe places to learn and safe places to work. So we need this investment for children, young people, and for their families. If the promise of inclusion and support, which was made to them over 20 years ago in legislation, is to be delivered. But we also need the investment for teachers. As one of my colleagues often says, work shouldn't hurt, and we need action to make sure that it doesn't moving forward.